All right, good evening, all. I want to welcome you to our Farming Fundamentals Business Basics class that we have. So hopefully everybody will get the opportunity. If you're not catching it live, you'll get to catch it on a recording. But we're very privileged tonight to have a representative of the farm management specialist side. Mr. Les Humple is going to be joining us. Les represents Williamson County and some of the surrounding counties, and I'll let him give a few more details for the area farm management specialist position. And this position is specifically designed to support many of you in the operations that you're looking to either start currently or have started already in the past and looking to build from there. So Les is a resource that we're very fortunate and to have in Middle Tennessee. And it's a great resource just for citizens all across the state of Tennessee that are especially on the business side. And I think sometimes we go into some of our business plans feeling like it's kind of us or just a few people that we've talked to, not realizing that we have such a great resource from the professional UT side. So we'll let Les talk a little bit about himself and kind of area farm management specialist position, and then get into some business basics. So thank you, Les, for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you also to Taylor for setting up this farming fundamental class through Williamson County. It's again a great resource for many in the area. As Matt said, my name is Les Humple, and I work with the University of Tennessee Extension, but more specifically on the ag economics side through the Center of Farm Management. And we have a program called the Manage Program, and I'm one of 9 that are across the state. We each have probably about 10 to 15 counties that we work with, and our focus is on working with individuals to help them make better decisions for their operation. Whether it be someone that is just starting off in a new business, whether it be farming or want to do some value added, or if someone else may have a full-time farmer that maybe want to expand, maybe add more acres. We'll look at the feasibility of that. In the last couple of years, we have done quite a bit of work with value added. For instance, someone that is raising beef cattle and they want to sell freezer beef. We'll work with them. Others will be processing more, say if they had a dairy and you wanted to add to make cheese or bottled milk. We'll go through those operations to help them put budgets, plans together. Also, we spend some time helping them writing grants. There's a number of grants that are out there, and that's one thing that's business basic with the business plans. Most grant opportunities require a business plan, and those grants could be anything such as the Tennessee Enterprise Fund through the Tennessee Department of Ag. You have the Value Added Producer Grant, which is a federal grant, and also just recently the Farm Grant through, again, Tennessee Department of Ag, which has an open period of March 1st through the 31st. So we want to cover just a few different things here, talking about not only the basics of business, but also we'll hit on a little bit about record keeping, budgets, and also we'll touch on some tools such as Quick and how they can assist you in your operation. So within a business plan, every business has a plan. Whether that would be something that's just kind of in your mind of what you want to do, or something simply on a piece of envelope or somewhere laying around. But that plan is really the basics of that, building that roadmap to get to where you're at. Having that business plan and breaking it down gives you a good understanding of where you're at today, where do you want to go, and then how to get there as well. I thought it was kind of interesting. Dr. David Cole is probably one of the foremost ag economics experts in the country from Virginia Tech. Now he's somewhat retired from that position, but he still does speaking engagements all over the country to trade groups, businesses, universities. And he's kind of come up with this thing, saying that 80% of Americans have no goals. 16% of them have goals in their mind, but they never write them down. And those remaining 4 that do write them down, they make 9 times more money and are probably happier because they have something written down that they can follow and is their roadmap, not only for today, for next month, but for years down the road. So we kind of look at when we talk about goals and business goals, whether it be short term or long term, we also want to add in not only the business or farm side, but you want to also add in some of the family goals. You know, what kind of lifestyle do you want to bring? And also on the financial side, you know, what can you expect? Or what do you want to get out of your farming operation? That's the one that oftentimes when we sit down with a producer, I like to ask them, you know, what do they expect out of their operation? What kind of goals? Is it $5,000 a year of revenue, or is it $100,000? That way we can have a really good starting point as far as building a plan. One thing too, you want to have everyone contribute. So if you're working with other family members or employees, you want to make sure that you get their input is in this as well, as far as when you're putting a business plan or writing down goals. You know, other ones to kind of have involved would also be business partners, whether it be someone from farm credit or an accountant, or even an your ag extension agent. You know, having more input will help better utilize the resources you have and build on those goals and plans. Was just a quote that was on an application, and I think it was on a grant application, just talking about, you know, they're saying that they don't have a formal business plan. They have an idea what they want to do, but they never wrote it down because they want to devote their time to other things that be more worth their time. But one thing that you know, keep in mind is anything related to farming, raising animals, plants and orchard. Time is one aspect of it that you can't really change. Now, if you lose money one year, you can make that up, but time-wise, you can't make up. So having something written down, really well thought of, can go a long way in accomplishing the goals that you have set out for yourself. So when you're starting a farm or agriculture business, you want to determine some of those values that would be the foundation. Oftentimes it's done with a mission statement, and we'll talk about that and show an example of one here as well. And you want to develop some goals and tactics, the way that you go about your business. When you're talking about the organizational structure, you know, choosing whether it's going to be a sole proprietorship or maybe an LLC or an S corp, and then management plans. Whether it's a very simple operation where it's a one person, or if you're going further where you're raising a product and then you're processing and selling, that gets more difficult to manage. So you want to make sure that you have steps in place or right individuals in place to help you achieve those goals. And one that often gets overlooked is the marketing plan. Usually when you have a commodity like cattle or soybeans or corn, your marketing plan is pretty straightforward. You have places where you can sell, like an auction barn or a grain elevator. You have a pretty good idea of what kind of price you're going to get even a year ahead of time with future markets. You can lock in prices or and so forth. So you do have, that's a little bit easier. Now, if you're more on that value added side, or you're raising vegetables, sell at a farmer's market, or doing a processing, say, a processing freezer beef, that marketing plan becomes much more difficult. It's somewhat easy to say that you can raise or grow something, but are you able to sell enough to offset your costs? And then also, you know, choose a record keeping system, no matter what it is, if it's even pencil or paper or a computer system, whatever you choose, make sure that's working for you and you stay up to date with it. So some of those reasons with creating that business plan is to kind of organize your thoughts and plans. No matter what you do, whether it's just raising a few beef cattle or you get more involved with processing, you want to have a good layout of your thoughts and plans over the course of months, years, and long term. And it really helps you really think about your business. You know, how serious are you about what you're doing? And also, this is where, you know, I or other managed agents across the state would come in as far as, is it going to be feasible for your venture? Oftentimes, if we're working with a producer that wants to maybe expand, whether they're buying new equipment or cattle, we can look at it and just see if that return is going to be worth your time, the feasibility of it, such as if you want to add a processing facility to your operation. Having a good, solid business plan is something that you can share with your lenders or investors. They're going to want to know what you have in mind and if it's going to be something that'll be profitable down the road. Most grants that I've worked with and other producers have worked with is going to require a business plan. And it doesn't need to be a 20-page or a 40-page document. It can be something as simple as 3 or 4 pages that are well thought out and written down. So again, it also gives it that next step as far as part of that marketing, as far as understanding your customers and competition. And then, it helps you set goals and reduce that risk. And there's always going to be a risk no matter what you do, but be able to kind of manage it is key. So when you're thinking about a business plan, what kind of risk management tools you can put in there? It could be something such as crop insurance or diversifying what you raise. Instituting things, working with farm service agency, anything that help mitigate those risks will go a long way within the business plan and success of your operation. So developing a plan, it does take time. One that's fairly simple, it could take a few hours. However, most, if you are more in depth, it could take 20, 30, 40 hours. It all depends on how simple or complex it is. But one thing that helps what you're doing, what your business is, and kind of the goals that you have set, so you can work off of those basic ideas and expand from there. Again, you want to involve anyone that's going to be part of it, whether it's going to be family members, other employees. If you're working with a business partner like a processing facility or the co-op, you want to kind of have them involved with the plan as well. And one thing too, when you have a business plan, it's not done. You write one business plan, you follow it for the rest of your career. You always want to update and add any information that you come across. And you also want to you understand there's going to be some roadblocks come away and that you might have to divert from what your initial plan was. But keep in mind that you do have your basics written down, you have your plan in place, and gives you a starting point to reassess and move forward. So some of the basic format of a business plan, and most of these are going to cover no matter what you do, whether, again, just a small operation or something more intensive as far as having processing and marketing or even agritourism. Most business plans are going to start off with an executive summary. As executive summary is the first thing that anybody reads, but it's the last thing that you write. So you go through and you write your whole business plan. You have a business description, a mission statement is put in place, your action plan. What are you going to do for marketing and production and financially? So you want to think about that executive summary is kind of like that Shark Tank thing. If you have to pitch your operation, this is what they're going to read. Usually it's only a 1-page summary. So whether you have a 4-page business plan or 40, the person that's looking at it should be able to read your executive summary and understand what your business is, what you want to do or expand, your markets, how your plan is going to come about and how it's going to be monitored, and if there's on the financial side as far as increase a business, or if you're asking for some financial grant opportunities, what that is and what it's going to be spent on. And keep in mind, if you are applying for any grants, the people that are reading these, you're not the only one. They'll be reading many. And oftentimes they're going to look just at that executive summary and move on. However, having a complete business plan allows you and some of your partners to kind of go through and look at and really think things through. So some of the basics are, mission statements. Often, today the mission statement is probably a little bit overlooked. It was really kind of pushed years ago as having, talking about your values, what you want your business to be, kind of the starting point. Other things that we'd really focus on is marketing, production, and also on the financial side as well. And with the financial side, within our program, we work with budgets, enterprise budgets, whole farm plans. So again, this is something that myself or one of the other managed agents could definitely assist with. One tool that we found that's very helpful, it comes from our friends from the Center of Farm Management, which is part of the University of Minnesota, and it's called Ag Plan. It's a free resource. If you just type in University of Minnesota Ag Plan, it'll come up. It'll ask you to log in, which is just putting in your email account and a password. So there's no cost to it, but it has a template, a breakdown of the template. And as you can see, they cover, your executive summary and your business description and so forth. So we look at it, it is very intensive in many different areas that they cover, but not all farms or not all businesses need to have it all filled out. One thing great about this is that you can add reviewers. So you can add maybe someone like myself, or if you're working with a lender or an accountant, you can put them on as your review. So as you're writing your business plan, you can kind of send it to them. They can give any input or updates if they feel is necessary as you go through the process. Again, it's very extensive, but again, most people probably won't need it. Many of these sections, whoops, got to move it on where we're at here. For instance, under operations, it shows licenses or permits. Well, in most cases most operations don't need that. But if you are processing or selling something to the general public, you may need some different licenses or permits or regulations, especially if you have a dairy and you want to process your own milk into cheese or yogurt. You have to go through all those type of permitting through the state, having people come out, look at your operations, getting a license, whether it's also be a business license or for taxes and such. Environmental issues, again, more on that large scale. What do you do with the waste, whether wastewater or waste product? And also, another area to look at is on the management organizational side of it. You may not have a board of directors for sole proprietor, but you might have a management team or an advisory board. It could be someone like Matt or someone from the co-op or the bank that gives you that advice. But putting that all together is something that you can kind of back to and look at and follow along. Another thing that we developed through the Center of Farm Management at UT was a business planning guide. The Tennessee Department of Agriculture came to us about a year ago, and they wanted to give a resource to their producers that were filling out grants. One particular grant is the Tennessee Ag Enterprise Fund, which covers not only the farm side, but also forestry and many others. They were getting business plans that might have been 1 page or even up to 40 pages, but they wanted something more condensed and consistent. So we came up with a publication series called Business Planning for Agriculture Operations. So it kind of walks through the process. The first one there, it's a PDF form where you can fill out as you go. Then each subsequent publication, like business description, marketing plan, and financial plan, each have their own section where you can look further into it as far as what's entailed with a business description or marketing plan. Again, this is designed to be maybe a 3 or 4 page document that you can upload within a grant program, or even if you are needing for your own self or just use, or looking with a lender. So again, if you have any questions on that, please reach out and I'll be glad to kind of explain it further, sit down with you and go over it and send you the links as well. So again, mission statements, kind of back in the day, they were really pushed in business schools. I don't know if they so much are anymore, but it really describes your business as far as what it is and the values that you have. And it's also a good starting point for what you want to do and see your business long term. It really gives you that guide to follow. It's everything that is done. Um, a mission statement doesn't have to be long. One paragraph is probably too long, maybe a few sentences, but you really want to describe that purpose of your business, your values, principles, and what the business is. What makes it unique. There's many that sell vegetables, for instance, at a farmer's market, but what makes your business unique to the others? Are you organic, or do you have heirloom, say, tomatoes or lettuce? Things that set you apart. You want to have that kind of put into that mission statement. So when you share it with others, it stands out. Now, this is just an example of a mission statement. It reads, ABC Farms is a family operation focused on the profitability and sustainability of production of premium quality fresh beef. And the mission is to be recognized by our business associates, customers, competitors as one of the top beef producers in our area. It goes on that it's focused on productivity and marketing, profitability for everyone involved in the family operation. And the last line, I think, is what really sets it apart, that it's a multi-generational operation. They want to provide that opportunity for their children to be involved in not only the production side as workers, but also as owners and managers. So having that mission statement, it does take time. It's something that you can't just write out in one setting. It's something that you want to refocus back on to really tell you if this is the core of your business going forward. Other parts of a good business plan, you want to have some goals, but and objectives. They need to be general, but also recognizable, right? So you want to challenge yourself. You don't want to have something that is too easy to achieve. So kind of think big, but make sure that stays focused within your mission statements. You want to have it where, if you have too few, if you only have one or two goals for the year and you complete those within a week or two, what else are you going to do? Maybe there should be more or something that's more focused. But again, you always want to get back to what is your objective? What is that mission statement saying? Is it all adding value to what you're doing? Again, you want to try to avoid too many objectives. You don't want to go down too many different tracks and they become kind of lost and unachievable. Again, having a set of goals each and every year, they build off each other. You get more refined as time goes by. And we've all heard of, if any business classes at all, the SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and also timely. And I think under measurable is one that you really want to look at. You want to make sure that the goals, that you're able to have a timeline involved and that you can gauge them, such as if you're expanding your operation, if you want to increase your sales from $5,000 to $7,000 within a year, those are measurable. There's an amount, there's a timeline, and it's a reasonable goal to have. If you said that you have $5,000 in sales this year from a farmer's market, and you want to go to $25,000 next year, that might not be realistic without adding additional employees, expanding your garden, or expanding the number of farmers markets that you attend. So some of the goals, here you can be like increasing farm revenue or net income, improving that production efficiency, maybe bring your children involved on the operation. These are all goals and objectives that are timely and can be measured. The SMART goals, for instance, at the bottom lines here, you can look at increased yields by 5 bushels an acre if you're raising soybeans or corn, right? Or maintain calf death loss at only 5% or less within 2024. So you want to be able to measure, maintain, and record and see how that comes out throughout the year. As far as action plans and tactics, this is the activities that accomplish the goals and fulfill that whole mission. That marketing plan, I can't get over enough how important that is when you're in that value added. Whether you're raising a farmer's market garden, or you're doing something that's a little bit one-off as far as on the processing side, or even on the agritourism side. Understanding your customers, understanding your competition, bring that in within your business plan as well. So you want to explain how each of those goals are accomplished. Like we talked about, if your goals is to maximize production, describe, who's going to do what, when, and how. It's pretty straightforward. You want to be able to measure some key performance, whether it's percentages or dollar amounts or yields, those type of things. Again, you want to be open-minded that within an action plan, goals aren't set in stone. They can be revised and reviewed as needed, but keep in mind that it all should be working toward that end goal of your operation. Some examples of an action plan, the goal is to maintain that death loss at 5% or less starting with 2024, right? So how do you do that? You kind of assess the reasons for where you might have a death loss. Or when you think about raising crops, why did we have a poor crop last year? Was it because of the drought, or was there a new disease or a pest that came through that held us back? And then evaluate and implement how maybe improving the nutrition on the cattle side or health program. You can kind of think back as far as taking soil samples underground. Does it need more lime or fertilizer? Or changing up the variety of plant that you have? Is the right one within your area? So those type of things, having that record keeping system is also is one of the best ways to kind of go about making sure that your hypothesis and your tactics are achieving your goals, or giving you the available information to make decisions going forward. We'll talk a little bit about record keeping. It doesn't matter whether you just have a simple writing down in a notebook, or you get like a ledger from Staples or somewhere, or you have Excel or Quickens. It should be something that you're comfortable using and that you will use going forward. Oftentimes, an Excel spreadsheet it's simple. It's on all computers. It really doesn't cost you anything. Excel gives you that opportunity to really kind of analyze your business more so than, say, a record keeping like Quickens. The benefit of having a record keeping system such as Quicken or QuickBooks, even though it takes a little bit more time to set up, it's the speed that you can get reports, getting the data back in a good situation. We talked a little bit about the records. You have the financial records. We'll talk about financial statement, income statements, any budgets, and then on the production side, as far as going back to the cow-calf operation, calving rates, death loss, weaning weights, those type of records would be more on the production side. There are many times that I might be on a farm doing a farm visit, and they'll have a great set of financial records, but their production records are really few and far between. It makes it extremely difficult to analyze really how successful that business is and what changes could be made, without having a good set of both of those records. It's difficult to kind of know the true cost of your production, or looking at break-even cost, determine profitability of each enterprise. And when we talk about an enterprise on a farm or we have the whole farm, but an enterprise could be broken down to, say, on a cow-calf operation would be an enterprise. If you raise corn and soybeans, that'd be another enterprise, or even hay could be its own enterprise. And when you think about, having each one, it'll give you that a good understanding as far as should you put more of your resources into one enterprise versus the other? Is one, say, losing you more money than the other? A good example is working with farmers on hay production. Is it costing you more in equipment, time, and resources to raise your own hay than to buy it? It may be an opportunity where you don't raise your own hay, you get rid of your equipment and expand your pastures, add more cattle, increase your herd size and your revenue side, and then source your hay, whether you bring it in from within the state or from out of state. You may have a better quality of hay and more usable economical wise. When you have a good set of production record, financial records, it aids in the calling decisions. If there's a cow that needs to go, or think about it if you're raising vegetables. It may be you're raising pumpkins and they add really nothing to your operation, and it's costing you money and time. This way that, well, maybe that needs to go and we expand our tomato production and so forth. Other things to have a good production records on, as far as the bottom one on the right, is qualify for government disaster programs. I hope all of you that have land or a farming operation have visited with Farm Service Agency. There's one in every county. They deal with on the financial part of it as far as risk management. They also have loans for new and beginning farmers, and one that's called a microloan, which is fairly easy to apply for. One thing on the government disaster payments, this past year, we had drought in our area, and there was a indemnity payment paid to those that have pastures and hay and cattle or any type of basically hoofed livestock. They were able to get a payment to help purchase hay or other commodities to keep that herd going. So again, visit with FSA, learn more about their programs and anything and some of the risk management opportunities that they do have within that their agency. I want to just kind of show here, talking about budgets and different things. A Center for Farm Management, we've come up with a new website and also kind of an Excel spreadsheet that's an income statement. An income statement is a great way to kind of keep your records organized. This will be an Excel form, and it should be out within the next couple of months. One great thing about this, it has a number of different headings on. So if you look under farm expenses, as far as chemicals and seed and feed, there'll be tabs at the bottom where you can track those specific expenses, and it'll feed that data into a final income statement. At the top, it keeps track of your income. And then even at the bottom, we've had a spot there for your personal income. Most farms in Tennessee are somewhat what you call part-time. They rely on an outside income off the farm. And oftentimes that outside income is also part of the equity that comes in the farm as far as adding financial resources to it. One thing that I do like about this income statement, it mirrors real closely to Schedule F tax form, and I believe Aaron Bell will speak more on that next week. So again, a great resource. If you're looking for that, just let me know, and I'm glad to talk a little bit more about that. Again, when we're talking about an enterprise budget, it's to estimate projected cost and revenue of a single enterprise and assess the feasibility of profitability. We talked about, how much do you make from corn or soybeans? Farmers in the commodity side look at this every year. If it's going to cost more for input cost on corn, they may shift more to soybeans and vice versa. It's also a great planning tool to test out new ideas and compare with other enterprises. For instance, you can look at, if you're raising, whether to grow heirloom tomatoes or more conventional tomatoes, having that budgeted down as far as what it costs and what the returns are, the production wise, as far as what the yields are, It's a great way to kind of compare and contrast to see what's going forward. Of course, with on an enterprise budget, you do have your cost of revenue, your cost and minus in the revenues and get your returns. Usually that's going to be at the top of any enterprise budget, whether it's going to be from University of Tennessee or University of Kentucky. Main categories are going to be your variable and fixed. The variable costs are your operating ones. And those kind of just keep in mind that if you weren't raising or growing crops, you wouldn't have variable cost. So you wouldn't have the seed cost, the fuel cost, or the chemical cost. However, the fixed cost is those overhead costs, which relates to land cost, insurance, taxes, and building maintenance. So it's going to be, whether you're raising anything or not, you will have those costs. We do get a lot of questions about if you're getting enterprise budgets, right? Breaking down your farm into 3 or 4 different enterprises, how do you do machinery cost? It gets very difficult to do if you want to break down every cost of every piece of equipment that you use, the fuel cost for each category throughout the year. Oftentimes we just set that up as a separate overhead category. So all the machinery costs get put into that overhead category. So at the end of the year, you can look at, say, if your cow-calf operation is 25, if your equipment is used 25% of that and 75% to raising corn or soybeans or hay, then you just split those costs out. Other things that we look at as far as opportunity costs, and I'll show you those a little bit later in one of our budgets. And keep it in mind on some of these budgets, especially from the University of Kentucky, for vegetable crops, they also look at harvest cost. We know what it's going to cost to plant and raise, but sometimes the harvest cost can be more than what the production costs are. So it kind of gives you an idea as far as maybe in a certain year, you kind of forgo that harvest. Maybe it's going to be too expensive. And it can be too much of a loss. So again, it gives a good way to budget those out and allows you to make a decision going forward. This is an example of one of our University of Tennessee tomato budgets. It's done by, if you look at the top, it's done by row feet. So 100-foot row, it talks about the spacing of the plant and then eating the space between rows. But I think this is more usable for many of our clients when you have it down by row feet instead of acres. So at the top there, you have the gross revenues on the tomatoes, and then it has all those different variable costs. One great thing about these budgets is that you can put your own estimates in, you can put your own cost in to look at what's the net revenue is going to be, and then the total cost, and then the returns, both variable and marketing cost as well. Another one here is our cow-calf budgets. Our budgets can be accessed by just typing in UTIA budgets. It'll bring up our web page where you can kind of go through and pick up the budgets that you need. This one is just a PDF form that I have here, but it's also available in Excel. So we have it broke down. If you look at the top on the revenue side, we have the cost or price quantity. And then we also have it broke down per cow and per herd. And in this example, it's a 50 cow herd. So we have it correspondingly accordingly. When you look on the variable side, we also have tabs available for on the pasture production or hay production that you can click on in an Excel form and put your own data in. You know, how much are you spending on chemicals or fertilizer? Also under supplemental feed and minerals, you know, how much are you spending there? How much are you feeding per day, per head? That'll all populate within the budget. When we look down at labor, the labor is not, it refers to your labor, your time, you know, not hiring someone. And that oftentimes we look as an opportunity cost within the labor. If you weren't doing this cow operation, maybe your time can be used elsewhere and have a better return. When we look at interest right below that, this is whether you're borrowing money or not. If you're using your own equity, there is a cost to that. Maybe that your own equity could be invested elsewhere and have a return. So you want to kind of evaluate the whole spectrum of it, of your enterprise that you're doing, and if this is the best use of your assets and resources. And within that, the monthly budget and income statements, we want to look at monthly cash flow projections. This within farming, oftentimes you have a lot of expenses in January, February, March, and very little income coming back in. This is a good way to kind of keep everything in line and planning for projection of all the sources and uses of your equity throughout the year. And also on the revenue side, you can look at when if you have loans due, when they can be paid back. As far as having a good monthly cash flow, working with lenders, for instance, say come around August, and if that's the normal time that you market calves, right? And you see an opportunity maybe 2 months down the road where the prices are going to be better, you can visit with your loan officer and see if we can extend your operating loan for another month or two to take advantage of those increase in prices and extra weight on those cattle. Also, a monthly cash flow, you want to factor in your income from off farm as well as the family living expenses. See what, and I'll show you an example here. This is a simple example of a cash flow statement. We have a beginning on cash balance across the top, and then any inflows as far as sales of hay or beef calves or stocker calves throughout the year. When you look down a little bit further, you have other personal. That is where you're going to have outside income added in as well. Now, you don't have to do that, but I think it's a good idea to have that in, especially on the smaller operations that rely on some of that outside cash flow, because it would also come into play when you look at living expenses on the outflow side, all the way down toward the bottom. We look at what it costs to run your household per month and all the other expenses in play. So again, farming is not very consistent as far as with your inflows and outflows, but this gives you a good understanding of where your money is coming in and going out and how you can adjust throughout the year. Some other type of tracking of income and expending, Quickens. We offer some learning opportunities, classes as far as how to use Quicken. We also talk about QuickBooks, but in most cases on a farming operation, Quicken is set up like a cash, or it's a checkbook, and it's a little bit easier to follow, and it has more of the tools that you need. You can see here you can have it, spread out in different tags as far as paying bills for utilities or education, any gifts or entertainment, and it can all be broke down throughout the year. So when you're working with Quickens, as I mentioned, you can have tags for each enterprise. So if you want to track your feed expense, you kind of create a tag for feed to track that expense in that category. And again, you can split things out. So if you go to the co-op and you buy feed, you buy some chemicals or oil, you can break all those expenses out, and you also tag it to which enterprise that you want to bill to. The power of any type of a computer system is the speed of getting reports and looking at each individual, either would be tag or category within the operation. If you are doing more payroll, or you have a nursery where you have many different products that you're selling, it may be a QuickBooks. It might be more in line with what you need. Kind of coming to the end here, you want to make sure that you avoid the desire to torture the data until it confesses the answers you want, right? So as you go through a business plan, as you go through your financials, you see what you have. In most cases, that's going to be telling you the answer to begin with. Trying to manipulate it, trying to cut corners, trying to find that last cent, you may be chasing the wrong avenue here. You don't want to say looking on the bright side all the time. You don't always want to be 100% positive. You want to be honest with yourself and with the operation, the data that it tells you. So having a great business plan to work with, a record keeping system, enterprise budgets will help you determine which direction your business is going and also how to get there. So year-end analysis, this is one thing that we do a lot of work with. We have a tool called FinPack, which is kind of an analyzing tool that we put whole farm plans and budgets in. We also put loan information in. We kind of sit down and see, how that business is doing each year. And also if there's any changes we can look at as far as, if you want to expand or if you want to consolidate some loans or add equipment, we can see how that affects cash flow throughout your operation. We want to look at the profitability and liquidity and solvency of your operation. Putting together a good balance sheet is also a must. And again, anything that you do as far as record keeping, it puts a baseline from year to year. So after year, the more that you do this, the more accurate it becomes. So your projections going forward will be more useful and beneficial to your operation. So some of the resources that we used here tonight is up here. And if you want a copy of the slides, please let me know or Matt know. We can send these out. But one, again, Ag Plan from the University of Minnesota. Another resource is the Small Business Administration. They also have a publication series about how to write your business plan. In addition to our business planning for agriculture operations through the Center of Farm Management is also available. Some other resources you can reach out to: the Farmer's Tax Guide from the IRS publication 225. This is probably about a 95 to 100-page document that gets really into the core of all the different tax rules and regulations that they have to follow. Get a good resource. It might be a little bit more in depth than what you need. Tennessee Department of Ag also has a resource. It's the Tennessee Farm Tax Manual. It's about a 50-page resource. And I think it explains it a little bit more straightforward. Again, a great resource. Those that are looking to farm for a profit and want to take advantage of tax exempt status, whether you're buying or selling products, you do need to fill out a Schedule F form, and there are resources to help with that. And if you're new to farming and you want to take advantage of those sales tax, you do need to fill out and complete ag sales and tax exemption form. It's very simple to do. It's a one-page document that you can send into the state. Usually within a couple of weeks, they give you back that whether they approve or disapprove of your application, but they do give you opportunities to kind of amend and change. But again, you do want to keep in mind that you do want to be working toward a profit, have a profit motive to make use of some of these exemptions. Some other manuals is the Greenbelt manual for those that have 15 acres or more within Tennessee, and it's either ag or forestry or green space. You can get that land, not the buildings, not the house, but the land could be taxed at a lower rate. But please visit with your tax assessor within your county. They do have some different stipulations within each county as far as how they want to handle this. But again, it might be an opportunity for you to kind of lower your land taxes. The last resource at the bottom is the Center of Farm Crop Diversification through the University of Kentucky. They have a number of budgets related to vegetable and fruit production based on either square footage or length of row that are very helpful. They also have information about different farmer markets and a database from farmer market prices that might help in creating budgets and plans for your operation. And finally, I just want to have this slide up there as far as, again, I work with the Center of Farm Management from the University of Tennessee within the Managed program. And our services, they're paid for by the state of Tennessee. So there's no cost to produce that we sit down, work with. Like I mentioned, not only are we with new beginning farmers, we also work a lot with established full-time farmers, whether it's dairies or big row crop operations. But we're there to really help those producers better understand where they sit today and what decisions they need to make in the future. Some of the other programs that we've done in the past is farm transition planning. Look at helping those families that want to transition that farmland to the next generation, work with income tax seminars and also with the different master farm programs. So again, please reach out if you have any questions. Be glad to help. I not only cover Murray County where I'm at tonight, but also Williamson and 8 and 9 other counties. So that's all I have here, Matt. I'm not sure if there's any questions that I can answer for you tonight.
Well, thank you, Les. So what we'll do is we'll wrap up for tonight, and then once we stop recording, we'll ask and answer any questions you may have. So I want to thank you for your time tonight presenting, and a lot of great material. And most importantly, out of all of it is just realizing what a resource that we have available to us in Les and the entire farm management program. Whether it's less or if it's a very specific thing that one of the other farm management specialists offer, there's a tremendous amount of resources available to you that probably most of us don't realize. So as you see kind of some of the less, I really appreciate you listing out some of the programs we have. Obviously, some of these are pretty pertainable to what we have going on in Middle Tennessee, especially when you get in transition planning and a few of these other things. So if this is something you see on here that you would like to see offered, or at least to see where it could be offered, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, and we're happy to try to make that possible, whether it's locally here or it's through another program with another joint county. So thank you again for Les tonight, and then we will hopefully see you shortly, and we'll certainly pass on your contact information for anybody that has any further questions or would like to get involved. Thank you.
Yeah,